Yo, yo, welcome to Trippy Commentaries. I'm RJ here with K-Mac.
Yo, what up?
We're going to cover Week 13 of the fantasy football season. Hopefully you guys have a feast planned on Thanksgiving. We have a great slate of football games. Definitely can't wait. Let's go ahead and start off with this guy right here, Kyle. Odell Beckham Jr. There's the catch. One of the best catches we've ever seen. I mean, that was amazing. It's almost like he's got some kind of stickum or rosin or whatever they want to call it on his gloves.
Some Spider-Man fingertips or something like that.
I mean, straight off of that first Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
That's crazy stuff. And he's obviously the #1 wide receiver in New York right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this guy has been impressing us every week even more. Like I remember saying last week, I thought he did, really good last week, and the week before that he did better, and now all of a sudden he comes up with a monster game in prime time and makes one of the most ridiculous catches I've ever seen, in person.
And especially because we've heard about that catching ability for a while. We've seen the videos, not just in that game where they showed it before he made that catch. They were talking about this stuff right before it happened.
Yep.
And that was crazy. And I feel like going forward, because he's had like 5 weeks in a row of being a clear-cut wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1 here. I think he's a wide receiver 1 going forward because I expected a big game from Ruben Randall in that one, and it didn't happen. It's ODB all day.
All day, yep. Kind of reminds me of Cordero Patterson, how what he did last year at the end of the season really came on, had a phenomenal end to his season, was the #1 receiver in the last 7 weeks of the season. So something similar. I mean, he was banged up in the earlier season. Now he's healthy, and we did a couple videos back a long time ago when the draft and stuff. And I believe RJ, you were saying this is the guy that you like the most, kind of coming out as far as athletic ability.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just ridiculous. And
he was a super sleeper because he was injured early on in the year, so a lot of people weren't looking at him at all. And it's crazy because of how many good wide receivers there are. I mean, Odell Beckham was drafted highly, but you had guys like Jordan Matthews who were thought highly of. Even going all the way down to Dante Moncrief there in Indianapolis. There's so many guys that people were hyped about. ODB was forgotten about because of the injury. Now he's blossoming. A lot of this has to be attributed to the loss of Victor Cruz. It's really put him in the spotlight. Because remember when Cruz went down, one of the first stories was that, of course, Beckham Jr. was going to step into that role.
It wasn't for him at that point.
Yeah, it wasn't Ruben Randall who they were saying, okay, well, Randall's the guy now. No, they bypassed him completely and made it clear that Beckham Jr. was the guy. Now he's proving it. He's made a catch, and he reminds me a lot of Mike Evans, who also is now clearly a stud. I think Evans is like the #1 dynasty player in all of fantasy.
Yeah.
Beckham is got to be pretty close.
He's got to
now
move
that he's
right
making these catches.
Of course.
The one advantage that Evans has over Beckham, if we kind of want to compare those two guys, is Mike Evans is that physical freak to where he's tall.
He's a beast.
He's got all of the attributes on top of the crazy catches that Beckham makes. So they're very close in quality here. Of course, Evans definitely the better guy as far as dynasty is concerned. Rightfully so, because he's a top 10 draft pick. I think Beckham is #2. Who do you like more here? Watkins or Benjamin as your #3 guy?
Oh, I still like Watkins. Benjamin, you kind of look at Watkins and you look at Beckham. They kind of remind me of being similar receivers, a little faster, guys that are going to stretch the field because of their speed. They're still going to go up and make the crazy athletic catches. And then you have the other two guys, Mike Evans and Kelvin Benjamin, who are your big guys that are going to moss every single cornerback. They're always open. A quarterback can put it anywhere around them. They're going to make the catch. So these guys are all really similar, really comparable, all ridiculous receivers. We've said it already before. This is the year of the rookie receivers. There's a lot of good rookie receivers out there that are making impacts. Jarvis Landry is another guy from Miami who was Odell Beckham's teammate in LSU, and this guy last couple of weeks has really started tearing it up and has really become almost the guy now in Miami that everyone's talking about. Obviously, you got Mike Wallace there, who has already proven himself, but Landry all of a sudden has given an extra spark to this now pretty much potent offensive passing game for Miami.
Yeah, I like Landry as a red zone threat. Last week, only 50 yards receiving, had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
that's huge. So he had a big day. I really like him as the big red zone threat. We never thought of Mike Wallace as the red zone guy. I remember even back in Pittsburgh, people were saying he's the big play guy. If he's
Yeah.
going to get touchdowns, it's probably going to be like a 30 or 40 yarder.
Yep.
In this case, that kind of lines up nicely for Landry because he's a definite physical threat.
Yeah.
Definitely a guy who's going to get some touchdowns. Last week we saw it. I'm a little worried about Tannehill. I think Tannehill's super hot right now, but he kind of reminds me of Andy Dalton to where when he's hot, he's great. But when he's cold, he's going to bring down a lot of these guys. And I'm expecting him to get cold at some point. Might not be this week, might not be the next week, but definitely something to worry about as far as those two wide receivers. Mike Wallace, I kind of trust at this point, but maybe Landry takes over as the number one. Whoever kind of solidifies himself as the best guy is going to be the guy you want heading into fantasy playoffs. Because it's hard to trust the number two guy in Miami.
Yeah, it is hard to trust, but you want to see these guys that are starting to trend. They're starting to have better weeks. They're starting to get better as the season is going on. And you want to have these explosive kind of guys. I mean, Landry is going to catch a 5-yard pass and can easily turn into a 20-yard play, and that's what you're looking at as, man.
Great run after the catch ability.
Exactly. Ridiculous, run after the catch ability. So you see these these tools are what you want to look for, especially going on the stretch, man, because something might happen to one of your receivers and you're like, shit, I need to throw in a guy. It's good to sometimes have a boom or bust guy because, damn, if he booms, it pays off big for you.
Yeah, and all these rookies are boom or bust guys. Look, the two guys I look to get into this dynasty conversation quickly. Of course, Jordan Matthews is already kind of muscling his way, but look at the other receivers there. Riley Cooper and Jeremy Maclin. I expect Maclin to get injured some point. Probably not this year, but maybe next year. Matthews, if that happens, he's the number one guy there, and that's huge.
He could handle it, too.
Another guy, Kyle, I love is Dante Moncrief. I mentioned him earlier. Reggie Wayne, he's in the twilight of his career. Andrew Luck is so good, and he's going to be good for a long time, that you're going to see two wide receivers have a lot of value. We know T.Y. Hilton is young. He's going to be a baller for a long time to come. Dante Moncrief's going to turn into that number two guy there. So I love him in dynasty formats.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Obviously not going to get a whole lot done right now. He's probably like a wide receiver 4.
He needs Reggie Wayne to get hurt. When Reggie Wayne was out, Moncrief came in and stepped up big. He's the complement to T.Y. Hilton. He's exactly what that offense needs to be complete.
And there's been so much in the news about Reggie Wayne kind of giving some tutelage to T.Y. Hilton. You know he's giving that same tutelage to Dante Moncrief. It's not like he's just singling out T.Y. Hilton. He's helping out his boys there in Indy.
Of course.
And I think that there was something in the news this week about how Reggie Wayne has lost a step. Oh, really? You think? I mean, he's coming off of a huge injury. That was the dumbest fucking story.
Oh, that was horrible.
And guess what? Even if he lost a step, he's still faster than Dwayne Allen. He's still faster than Kobe Fleener.
Still
those guys,
a better receiver than
those guys do
than
fine.
A Dwayne Bowe, even being
exactly.
roughed up.
He's probably faster than Dwayne Bowe.
He's
so who cares?
And way smarter. So yeah, that was retarded. I didn't like that at all.
That was a common sense story. But regardless, I wouldn't. If I were a Reggie Wayne owner, I'd be like, okay, yeah. Tell me something I don't know. I'm still going to start him. He's probably still going to do fine most of the time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mouths to feed there in Indy. I mean, look at Green Bay. Even Jordy Nelson, who's like the number 3 receiver overall right now, he's going to have his bad games here and there. Last week he didn't do anything too special.
Yep.
So just something to point out there. Let's stick with wide receivers here, Kyle. There's one other team I think we got to get to as far as their wideouts here, and that's the New Orleans Saints. Both of their number one guys, we're trying to figure out who it is outside Jimmy Graham, had pretty good games. You had Marcus Colston, decent game yardage, but had the big touchdown there. Really good play, man. The safety looked like he was coming in for the pick, and it just fell right there in Colston's lap. One of the few really good passes that Breeze made that night. And Kenny Stills all of a sudden is pretty consistent. He didn't have a touchdown last week, but he had a lot of yardage.
Yeah.
And I'm picking Stills. Who do you like right now?
Well, to me, Kenny Stills has kind of outplayed Brandon Cooks this year. They've really tried forcing the ball to Brandon Cooks, but he still was never really breaking any big plays off. Kenny Stills is kind of all this guy does, and unfortunately in that offense, that's pretty much all they use him for. The deep passes, the deep strikes, but we saw last week that he can actually do a little more than that. Had 9 catches for 98 yards. They were throwing the ball to him underneath. They're getting him more involved in the offense, and he looks explosive. Now, hard thing with the Saints is you got a Saints offense that's struggling. You got guys like Jimmy Graham, Marcus Colston. Those are way bigger red zone threats. So Kenny Stills really depends on that one big play for the touchdown, and that's when he's going to get you like 14, 15 points for a week.
Yeah. I mean, I love Kenny Stills, but I'm just worried about Drew Brees right now because we would trust guys like that in the past because they were with Drew Brees.
Yeah.
Saw a lot of off passes by him, and it just kind of worries me as far as going with Colston or Stills because expecting dud games from both of them at some point. That's just how it's going to go in that offense. We've seen it before with those New Orleans receivers. They're hard to predict other than little Jimmy. Jimmy Graham looks fine. He's coming off a 2-touchdown game.
Yeah, definitely.
Here's the question that I have for you, K-Mac.
All right.
Would you start anyone from the New York Jets offense right now?
Hell no.
Really? Not a single guy?
Not a single guy. I mean, I was looking at Percy Harvin for a little bit to see maybe something could happen there, but he's terrible.
Possibly coming out of the bye
Corey
week.
Graham absolutely shut him down last week. He is just
Yeah.
he is not a receiver. I'm sorry in this game. I mean, he's not a true receiver. I thought Seattle was using him right because that's what he is. He's proven to me already he cannot get off the line of scrimmage. Any good cornerback in this league is going to shut him down. He's super fast, but you got to use him the right way, and it's probably not going to happen in New York. So I can't trust him. Decker's probably the one guy that, in a pinch, I'd probably go him as a receiver because I might get double digits for him.
He's a legit wide receiver. It's just his quarterback is terrible.
The whole quarterback situation now is even worse than it was because now they're not sure who they're going to start. Rex Ryan wants to start Michael Vick now, but hasn't made it official. So you got two quarterbacks that don't know what the hell they're doing right now. Mike Vick got beat up last week, which we knew was going to happen. We called that already. He's probably going to get injured again if he starts again this week. But it's unfortunate. But I can't last stretch of the season here, playoffs. No way in hell am I trusting. Not even Chris Johnson. I just can't trust any guy from.
Well, of course, Chris Ivory's the lead dog there, but if you look at his past 3 weeks, he's been getting the work, but the team's so bad that he just can't get anything done at all. Definitely not worth starting. I look for Geno Smith to definitely get back in there. They got to see what they have in him, even though they already know, which is kind of funny, but Michael Vick is either going to get benched or is going to get injured again. They're going to throw Geno Smith in there. He's not going to do good. He's going to bring everybody down. And that's just a barren wasteland there for the Jets right now.
Almost like Tennessee, man.
Tennessee had Justin Hunter look good last week. He's a guy we got to keep our eyes on. I'm not saying start him.
Yeah,
no way.
We've been keeping our eye on him all year, man. And
keep your eye on Justin Hunter.
And Delaney Walker, I walk too. I like him as well. I think he's a good tight end. Probably in a better team, he would excel a lot more. But same thing. There's problems there with that offense. And
Mettenberger's is a gunslinger. He's willing, even if he throws picks, to kind of throw it and give our receivers a chance, as we've seen some big games from guys here in the past few weeks. He's a rookie, so let's see if he can develop. I'm predicting, of course, not. I think he's not going to be that great, and eventually they'll move on from him.
Right.
But we've seen bad quarterbacks get our wide receivers some value in the past. Justin Hunter's the main guy to keep your eye on just because he's the most talented guy there. Even, of course, more talented than Kendall Wright and Nate Washington, who both make big plays. But I think Justin Hunter is the best guy there easily.
Yeah.
And he's definitely some guy you want to keep your eye on. Last guy I just want to give a shout-out to kind of conclude the episode, Kyle, is Fred Jackson. He's going to turn into a big-time running back, too, in the home stretch of the season. Has a long time to get healthy. Last week, of course, it was a Monday game where you really didn't see a ton from him. But now he has some time to get healthy coming off of that break. I think he's definitely going to come in and be a real good player. Coming down the home stretch, he's a player that we've liked for a long time.
He won me a championship before, man.
And we knew the injury was coming this year. He's one of those players where you kind of want to ride him out, kind of like Bradshaw, where you know he's going to get injured, but when they're in there, they're going to be pretty studly. Fred Jackson's back, and I really like him in the home stretch.
It's good time for it. Good time for that whole offense, man. I like a lot of players on that offense. Kyle Orton's getting it done. Sammy Watkins, having Fred Jackson there, just going to make those players better. Look for Sammy Watkins to get back to that form once they have that running game again. Because right now they're just pretty much expecting the Bills to throw the ball, and it's kind of helped some of their running backs, Boobie Dixon, have kind of a decent game just because they were so worried about stopping the pass. So that will change, though.
Shout out to the Bills Mafia. They certainly looked ferocious on Monday night against the terrible Jets. We'll see what they can do this week. Hopefully you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy the football. Make sure to stay tuned to our coverage of the 2014 fantasy season as we approach the fantasy playoffs. If you guys are in contention for a championship, there's definitely going to be a way you can pull it out just by starting the right guys. We got your back. We'll figure it out with you. So we'll see you guys next week for another episode of our Fantasy Football Weekly. Check you out then. Stay trippy.